Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to This Week in Anderson on the Big Eye Sports Cast on USBN Sports. And as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Steve Ellis. And Steve, I think we're on number 18. And I don't know, did you ever think that we would make it to 18 podcast? I honestly didn't know how this was going to be, but seems like everybody gets a kick out of this. So surprised we made it to 18.
Well, it is good to hear. And we're hearing that's, all positive stuff as opposed to some of the negative stuff that's on the internet these days. So that's good to hear. But as long as we just keep talking, Danny, I guess it's good times for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And we've got a special guest, a guy that's been, has many hats at Anderson High School. He was a former player, coach, AD, very successful businessman, and somebody that you and I have known for a very long time, and Randy Corbitt. Randy, really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Glad to be here. I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk about Redskins.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
and Randy, we were kind of talking before we went on air. I think the very first time that I really kind of remember starting to get to know you was when you were seniors when we were freshmen, and you went to prom with my brother Moose, and you brought your wife, who you're married to now, Laura, and I think you guys came over to our house, and that's my first, I think, time with Mr. Randy Corbitt.
Yep, I remember photos. Was at your parents' house. Yep. And I can't. There was one other couple with this, and I'm struggling to figure out who it was.
I don't remember who it was either. But that was my first experience with you. And but talk about you played football at Anderson High School. Both of us had the opportunity to play for Coach John Stowe. I loved Mr. Stowe. He was a great guy. Talk a little bit about your impressions and what you remember of John Stowe.
Well, first of all, John, just a tremendous man, tremendous family man. He was great for Anderson High School. I was a chubby, fat little kid that, quite honestly, I probably wasn't going to play in high school. And John Stowe, my freshman year, I'll never forget, he came to me and he said, I'm tired of you talking bad about yourself. You're going to get in shape. And he started running the hills with me. We'd go down Asbury, down to 52 and back up. And I did that. I remember when I was 14 till I was about 15 and a half to 16, I'd run with him 2 or 3 days a week. And he turned me in from a little fat guy to I was 6 foot, 220, about the size I am now, a little shorter somehow. But anyways, yeah, what a tremendous man, great leader. Wonderful role model.
Yeah, he definitely was. And talk a little bit about that playing football at Anderson. And I remember how special it was for me playing at Anderson, and just talk a little bit about some of your memories of playing with Coach Stowe and playing football at Anderson. Yeah,
probably the best part about it was the team itself. We were very blessed. What great individuals. A lot of the guys to this day I still hang out with that we played with. And I was very average athlete at best, probably below average by most people's thoughts. But, they gave us, it was all about hard work, working hard, determination, things like that the guys, I think they gave us an opportunity to play if we did our best. And, just a ton of fun. There are so many memories. Unfortunately, my senior year, I blew my knee out in the scrimmage the day before Amelia. Wow. We were doing extra point. They took the tackles, moved them into guards, and brought in the backup tackle. Well, we stepped down, and I blew my knee out. So I was able to play the last 3 games my senior year. Still great memories.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were just saying, you're still friends with some of those guys. I know, just being friends with you and also with Tony Diana, and that you guys do something every couple of years. I think you guys do some golf outing. You go down to Florida, I believe. I could be wrong, but let's talk a little bit about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we've been doing it, quite honestly, for about 20 years. And it started out being just some of the guys from Anderson. And I don't know, a lot of our guys that went to Anderson also went to University of Cincinnati. I mean, Terry Brennan was on the football team. Tony Diana, Kurt Kissinger also went to UC. He was a fraternity brother as well. He was a Pike. Terry was a Pike. So we started getting together, literally back then, not far after that. And now it's now called the Corbitt Cup, and the Corbitt Graphics pretty much sponsors all the extra stuff. And we do it in different locations. It's been in Florida most of the time recently, but I mean, we've been in Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and just a ton of fun. 16 guys. I mean, Mike Wan, the commissioner of the LPGA. You guys should probably get him on one day. He's a funny guy, great guy. He was our quarterback. Also played shortstop on the baseball team our senior year, and he's come every year. He doesn't miss. It's really nice having the commissioner of the LPGA because I'll tell you, the first few times I'm like, this is incredible. The way these people support me and how we have this cup. And they said, you dummy, Mike Wan, the commissioner of the LPGA, is sitting on the tee box with you. What do you think they're so good about? So anyways, it's a lot of fun.
Hey, it's funny because I interviewed Mike, I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was really cool. And one of the things I asked him, I said, what is your memories of Anderson football? One of the things he brought up, he goes, never forget throwing it past, is it Mike Andrews in the end zone and he dropped it. That's one of his things he brought up.
Well, we need to have a conversation about that. Did it hit Mike's hands? Yes. Was it catchable? That's the big scenario. I think it was a little bit outreach of Mike's fingertips.
Well, according to Mike, it was all on Andrews. So.
Of course, you need to have that conversation with Mike Andrews. But
absolutely.
Need to see the film on that.
Yeah, I remember kind of fast forward. My son RJ is on the team this year, and RJ is probably 5'10", 150 pounds. Well, Mike Wan was about that, wow. maybe 6 foot, 160 or 70. But I remember, we were all benching 250, 260, and Mike Wan, we had a pink shirt that had 175 on it because he couldn't get to 200.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
It was funny. And you remember the weight room used to be the little equipment room right there at the top of the stairs, maybe 15 by 15.
Yeah.
It
was small. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
So
try to explain that to my kids, and they don't understand, how small it was and how far it's come. So my first introduction to you, Randy, was when Danny and I were freshmen, and just being so excited to be at finally in high school, and we've been following all the sports all the the years, and going to the classes before you with Joe Dayton and Joe Miller being the AD and stuff like that. And we come to these pep rallies that I'd always heard about, mainly from my dad, and I walk into the gym and here's this guy all decked out in orange, and he's the MC, and it's Randy Corbitt.
Yeah,
there it is. So. How did that all come about, Randy?
First of all, I would be mistaken if I didn't when you mentioned Joe Miller. Guys, what a tremendous. He was the athletic director when we were there, and as your parents knew, all your parents. I mean, he is. When we go to school every day and we work, whether athletic directors or teachers, our jobs provide an opportunity to be successful for kids, whether it's on the court, in the classroom, whatever. And it's that simple. Sometimes we make it a little bit harder than what it is. And Joe Miller, what a guy, what a great role model. I told my mom when I was in high school, I was 16 years old. And I told her, I said, I'm going to be Joe Miller someday. Yeah. He had the white patent leather shoes, the orange, black, white plaid pants, and the old white polyester shirt. And I'll tell you what a tremendous guy, though. When he coached for years, he was coaching at Norwood when I started coaching with Vince.
Yeah.
Looking across there, I mean, hell, I was probably 21 and he had to be 60 at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And just a great guy. But I think what happened was, first of all, there was a kid named Brian O'Rourke and Tom Brenneman, both a year ahead of us.
Yeah.
So I started doing those pep rallies when I was a sophomore and junior, but those guys, if you remember the basketball team, our sophomore and junior year, I mean, they were awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
And not that they weren't good our senior, but our junior year, we went up and lost to Moeller when Byron Larkin decided to shit. The kid played JV all year and he scored 33 points against us in varsity. We didn't know about him.
Right.
Yep.
I remember I had orange, black corduroy pants, cut out white like down the side of my pants, my jacket on, and Brian O'Rourke and Tom Brenneman. You know, we were kind of the head of, I forget what we were called, the Fanatics. That's right, the Redskin Fanatics.
Yeah.
But all those guys, I mean, you know, just all good people caring about trying to provide an opportunity and a great experience for everybody, you know. So those guys were real beneficial. But I remember Joe Miller and our principal Steffens, another great guy, came to him and said, "Hey, let's try to liven these things up. Enough of staff trying to do it. Why don't we let the kids do it?" And that's kind of what happened.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So Randy, moving forward, you know, past your college days, you get into coaching.
That was a long time.
Yeah, I know. Well, us too. But then you got into coaching at Anderson, which, you know, of all places, that's a, you know, great place to be. But you were a part of the beginning of the uphill climb, not just from your playing with John Stowe and moving forward, but then when you got with Vince and you turned, you know, this program around, that was just incredible to watch. And I'm sure it was special for you to be a part of, being, you know, from playing at Anderson. Talk a little bit about how that was when it all started with Vince and then moving forward to the success you guys had.
Well, prior to Vince, so, you know, I blew my knee out my senior year. The only place I may have played was University of Dayton. That's what I was looking at playing. I remember me, Dan Simmons, and Mike Wan went on a visit up there. But I ended up, after hurting my knee, I decided to go to University of Cincinnati. I started coaching at Forest Hills Junior School right out of my senior year. So I was going to UC and I was coaching Forest Hills. I coached with for two years under Bruce Griffiths with the 8th graders.
Wow.
And then I was a head coach of the 7th graders for 2 years. And then on year 5 is the year Vince came in. I was offered the freshman coaching job under Vince. And about probably 2 weeks before the season started, Dean Tipball, you guys remember Dean played for Anderson, went on to UC.
Yep.
Number 42, played strong safety. And Dean was able to take a job with, I believe, USU or something. It was a good opportunity, and he couldn't pass it up. So he gave up the coaching job with 2 weeks before the season, and Vince was scrambling. And he came to me and he said, "What do you think about coaching varsity offense and defensive line?" And of course, you know, Vince is pretty demanding. The next 2 weeks was Vince's and Randy's camp, and he taught me everything that he knew. And he coached offensive line at some point, defensive line. So we were 6 to 8 hours a day working strictly fundamentals and what he expected out of the offense and defensive line. So I was very fortunate, 21 years old, thrown into the fire with Vince Siriano, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have had any other way. It was awesome. Great experience.
Hey, so you know who ended up being the freshman coaches that year?
You and Tony Diana. Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So same thing with you, Randy. It was I did not know football. I thought I knew football. I did not know crap about football until I was with Vince, and he's an incredible man, and he's incredible knowledge, man. I'm telling you, it's unreal.
Well, you know what Vince was. The theory with Vince and John Stowe, quite honestly, they both had the Ohio State at the time Michigan mentality. You know what I mean? They were, you know, it wasn't like it is now, thrown all over the place. It was, you know, guard, tackle, block down, pulled, trap, you know, kind of up the middle. We're going to run the ball 70% of the time, throw it. Well, what Vince, you know, coming to Anderson, he realized that where he came from, they were always the strongest, fastest, biggest, because those kids have been in a great weight program. Right. Not that we didn't have one. It wasn't to the magnitude of 4 times a week, right. You know, all those types of things. So I think one thing that made Vince just a tremendous coach is he was able to adapt to his talent, and we did some things differently. You know, the way we blocked under John Stowe and Bud Letterby was the old shoulder blocks. when Vince came in and we're like, we're not big enough. I mean, if you remember those first, I mean, Coleraine, Forest Park, Winton, I mean, Applegate, those guys were huge.
Right.
And we were always smaller and not as fast. So Vince was able to, year one was tough, as you guys know, 1-9.
Yeah.
But it didn't take long to get it kind of turned around. And just the kids and the parents, the support, we were so blessed at that time. Mike Hall, being the leader of the whole ship, was the man.
Right.
You know, he hired these people and let them do their job. And Vince was a great role model. Just very, very fortunate.
Randy, how did you and Vince get the guys to buy into the weightlifting? Because I know that, at least when Danny and I went through, and I didn't play football, but Danny can speak on it, that it really, nobody was really interested in too much. And I know we didn't have the weight room like we have now, but somehow, some way, you and Vince and the rest of the coaches got them to buy in, and it's all the way to this day. So how did that all happen?
Well, so the weight room that we had was that equipment room. So then we moved it down into the old auto shop.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, not that it wasn't, I mean, at the time, if you think about our first year, we ended the season with 36 varsity kids. 10 or 12 kids didn't want to cut it. They didn't want to put in the time. I mean, there was 36 kids that finished the year. But that weight room down there was good enough. And we were all in on it. When I said that, all the coaches were at every weight workout. If you coached basketball in the winter, you might not have been. But outside of that, we were in there with them, supporting them during the weight program. And I think that made a big difference and made a big emphasis on, being able to do it.
That's great.
And one of the big things that we always talk about is obviously when it all got started, and the very first playoff team, that Anderson had was the 1990, 92, 93 team, whatever you want to call it there. But that was a special year, Randy. And I remember that was one of our highlights of our broadcast that we've been doing for 30 years was that game, and just what it meant for the community. And you could tell the fans at that game and it was snowing like you wouldn't believe, that Princeton game. Talk a little bit about that 90, that team with those guys with Nate Cosman and Jason Bell, and what a great class.
Joe Dunn.
And guys, I have that team photo up in my house, as does Vince and everybody else. Those guys, first of all, we were very blessed to 5 of those guys on that team, 2 different years, played Division I football.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen much, right?
Wow.
I mean, that's huge. 4 Division I large. I mean, Joe Dunn went to Indiana State, but Chris Haywood, Jeremy Streck, Mons, and Hast, all those guys. So nothing personal. I'm coaching the offense and defensive line. I got 4 Division I. I mean, how fun is it to coach them? Right. But that group of kids, first of all, and Vince will tell you, that was probably our toughest year for coaching, because we lost a couple coaches that year, and Vince brought on 2 guys kind of last minute. And quite honestly, they didn't make it the end of the year. They weren't cutting it.
Really?
Vince cut them loose again, like week 4 or 5. We finished that year. Well, I know it was Jeff Geesting, Randy Corbitt, Vince Siriano, Bob Parrish. I'm thinking Bob Mullinex might have been there that year.
Thank so too.
And he, but I'll tell you, I want to say we were probably about 70 strong at that point, and there was 4 to 5 coaches. That's it. But when you have people like Joe Dunn, he's like a coach on the field. I mean, seriously. He was just tremendous. A lot of those kids played both ways. Nate Cosman, he played tight end. He had to hit Mark Edwards in the ear hole, blocking down, and then turn around and play tight end, or turn around and play outside linebacker. That year also, if you guys remember, one of the biggest things that Vince did in the offseason, we were playing teams. Harrison was one of our big foes.
Yep.
And they kept going in motion and putting our drop end, rush end, drop end. So we switched from the traditional 50 to the 4-3. And so that was a lot for all of us to learn. Rush ends coming up field, outside linebacker changed their keys. They went from I mean, Nate Cosman and Joe Dunn had 51 keys at middle linebacker in the 50.
Wow.
You know, they block down, you go, here, you know, that 4-3, it's open and close window, baby. Tackle blocks down, you come off his ass. Tackle opens up, you know, and watch those guys, instead of thinking so much and just let them play, man, was it a huge difference. And as you know, we beat the teams we switched to run the 4-3 with.
Yeah, that was just an incredible team. I've had arguments with the guys in the state championship team, and I keep telling them that was the best team Anderson had. They how can you say that? I said, listen, it was just different times and different mentality, different things going on.
I will tell you, I will say that there's no question we weren't better athletes.
Right.
But as a team, I'm not too sure we were. And understand we were playing Division I at that point.
Exactly.
You know,
that was my point.
But as a team, you know, Jason Bell was an unbelievable leader as a quarterback. I got to tell you that story, and it haunts me to this day. You guys were there. We're playing at Middletown, it's Middletown.
Yep.
The whole way up, it poured down snow. We get there, snow all over the ground. You know, you can't control some of those things, right? Well, those kids, you don't have to worry about it. They're goofy. They were loving it, throwing. I mean, they were loose as a goose, which is good because Vince is tight as, you know. So
Payson.
we play a really good game. If you remember, Princeton had two Division I linemen, defensive linemen on the line, and one offensive lineman and a wideout. 4 guys went Division I off of that senior year. And so anyways, if you guys remember, it comes down literally to the end of the game.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Vince calls a timeout, brings the players over. Vince wants to kick a field goal. We're on the 6-inch line, I believe.
Yeah.
We're close to the goal line. Inside, and snow all over the ground. Not that we didn't trust Lawrence, but, you know, what do? You go for the win, you go for the tie. What do you do? The kids all wanted to go for it. Nate Cosman, Jason Bell, they all wanted to go for it. So we went unbalanced. And it's my fault. I put in Jamie Mons and I didn't take out Nate Cosman. I don't know if you guys know this, but they took the field.
Yep.
12 players on the field.
Oh.
Jason Bell. Just, you know, that's a leader. He counted them, knew there was too many, and he sent Nate off the field. Nate, just before the snap, Nate was still on the field. But it's, you know, it's in overtime, so we're down there. You know, everybody's focused on one end. And ball snapped. Jamie Mons didn't block a soul, but Jason Druso dove under his leg, and he was the whole football was in the end zone.
Wow!
The most exciting time ever. I mean, just to turn around and see the fans go nuts and first playoff victory in his. I mean,
Gives
it
me
was like,
goosebumps. Gives me goosebumps, man.
Oh, it's just so cool. And everybody took the field. It was, what an incredible night for Anderson High School.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
Well, that had to be like one of the top 5 games, I would say. I mean, you throw in all the Turpin games, stuff like that, but some of these playoff games and obviously the state championship. But that game right there, obviously, you know, put the icing on the cake.
Absolutely,
there.
Steve.
Well, you know, you come in, you got Pat Mancuso has been the guy around Cincinnati. Him and who's the guy that was at Moeller, went to Notre Dame?
Jerry Fowles.
Yeah, Jerry Fowles. I mean, those guys were. And then here's this guy, Vince Siriano, from from the Valley. They're calling him Siriano, and you know, that year was special because we won some games that year because, quite honestly, Vince outworked people and we outcoached some people because we weren't the best team athletically. But I'll tell you, as a team, unbelievable unit. And as you guys know, what happened the next week.
Still bad call.
That was a first down. That was a first down.
It was. I watched it. I've watched it many times. It's a first down. I don't care what you say. Yeah.
So, Randy, you left Anderson coaching, and did you coach a little bit in college as well?
So after that season, I felt, first of all, I was very blessed, and at the time, let's see, that was year 5. So I'm 22, 23 years old. Is that right? 24, 25 years old. My wife, Laura, was a nurse. And not that sometimes you just kind of feel like it's time. And I felt, Vince had the opportunity several times to go to college, and he chose not to at that time because of kids at this time I was young enough, I didn't have kids yet. And I thought it was a chance. So I just started sending out resumes. And one of my best friends from high school, best man at my wedding, Terry Brennan, you guys know the Brennan family. He just happened to be in Birmingham and just said to me, hey, I saw in the paper UAB's looking for some coaches. They're going from Division III to Division I AA. So I sent a resume, and a week or two later got a phone call, drove down, interviewed, and it was just a perfect storm because there was a guy down there coaching Division III. His name was Jim Hilliard. Jim at the time was about 65, and he had coached in the NFL as a kicking coach. And he was struggling to find guys because it wasn't great money back then. Going from Division III, those guys are making $12,000 to $14,000 a year. Wow. So I needed to finish my degree, and it was a great storm. They finished. I was allowed to go to school and coach football. And it was perfect. So I could finish up my degree at the same time, coach college football. And I just got into a good situation.
That's
very fortunate. Yep. Great
Pretty
experience.
Cool.
We went 9-2, 8-4 in 2 years of 1 AA. We played, we were able to go back and play Louis at Butler
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Hey, Randy, was that with Watson Brown?
Okay. Good story. So my senior in high school, Watson was the head football coach at UC. So I'm going to UC, right? And I'm just a student. That was the year they brought Watson in there, right? Fast forward, Watson wasn't there, but very long, ended up, leaving. So fast forward now, this is crazy. Jim, I had put my heart and soul at UAB. After our 4th game, we were playing Jack Harbaugh, was the head coach of Western Kentucky, and they were running the dead eye. Jim Hilliard, on the way home from our 3rd game, we're driving in the bus. We only flew to 1 game. We flew out to play the Jayhawks at Kansas because they paid us to. But I'll never forget, Jim, on the way, we drove, I don't know, it's probably 4 hours back to Birmingham. And he told me in the bus ride, he said, starting on Monday, you're going to become the defensive coordinator. I'm going to focus back on you're doing the defensive game plan, and I'm going to run the team. We're trying to build a mess hall for the football team and all this stuff. So I'm 4 weeks into a college career, and I'm now calling the defense. That's how quick it was.
Wow.
And I was blessed. We had Dieter Brock was our offensive coordinator. I don't know if you remember Dieter, played for the Rams, and he ran the run and shoot, was a big Mouse Davis guy, and we threw the ball all over the place, a lot like they do now at Anderson.
Right.
And we put up a lot of points. So luckily, defensively, if I could keep it under 30, they were going to score. So anyways, but what I was going to tell you, after 2 years, we were going from the University of Dayton, University of Butler, UAB, any school that had a Division I football or basketball team, the other program had to go Division I. You guys remember that?
I don't think I remember that. Really, I don't.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Yeah. So long story short, UAB. That's why they had to go to Division I. They were 1 AA, and then the opportunity to go to Division I, more money and all that kind of stuff. So the following year, they were going to go to Division I. Jim Hilliard wasn't the guy to do that. Great guy, but he couldn't do it. And so literally this happened like December 20th. I got a letter of resignation, just about crushed me. I moved my wife down there. We coached for 2 years, bust our ass, do everything, and now I'm out of a job again.
Wow.
And so I'm starting to look, and Watson Brown became the head coach, and Watson Brown remembered me from high school, and they offered me one of the part-time jobs, because Division I AA for 1 more year was six full-time and 5 part-time. So he offered me one of the 5 part-time jobs, $12,000 a year and a meal ticket.
Wow.
Laura's 6 months pregnant. We just couldn't do it.
Ain't
You know
happening.
what I mean? We just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Wow. That's a
So-
great story. That's a great,
Yeah.
great story.
Yeah, full circle. You know, that's why you never burn bridges with coaches, because you
Absolutely.
never know when they'll come around again.
Yeah, and then well, I was just getting ready to say, not burning any bridges. That kind of led you back to. Did you came back to Anderson? Is that when you became AD or no? When did?
Yeah, so the I came home for a funeral. If you remember, it was very sad. My Call's grandson died in a pool accident. It was heart-wrenching. And I want to say it was the first or second week in January. And, you know, so many people were there, and me and Laura were there, and everybody just saying, why don't you come back to be the AD? Rich Newman took the job with the Silverbacks like over Christmas.
Yeah.
And the athletic director's job was open. And quite honestly, Vince was going to do it. Vince was going to become AD and head football coach. And somehow on that visit, he came to me and he said, why don't you come back and be AD? You know, if I get an opportunity to have you come back, I want to do that. So it was very nice. And I'd say probably within 2 weeks, I know I was back here the end of January as the athletic director interim till the end of the year. And the theory was, you know, if I did well, you know, then I'd become the AD. So that's how it kind of happened.
Wow.
Mid-year. Yep.
That's another good story, man.
So that was the 3rd time Mike Cole hired me back.
That's pretty good.
Well, Randy, I just remember how, you know, hands-on you were and how hard you worked when you were AD. I mean, you know, some ADs, you know, they delegate and stuff like that. And I just remember you were sweating every day. You were out there, you know, grinding it out as the AD and just setting the example for the coaches and everybody around the building. I thought you did a great job.
Well, thank you. And you know what, that's kind of my philosophy when I was the athletic director, and a lot came from my call was, hey, you know, if we all support each other and do this and treat everybody equal. I don't care if it was Mr. and Mrs. Ellis running the concession stand, custodians, football, it didn't matter. Nobody was more important to me, literally nobody. We all could do it. If there was a spill on the court, I didn't have to call a custodian, grab the freaking mop and get it cleaned up.
Right.
And you know what, when you do stuff like that and you're part of the team, not only are they part of it, but you know what I mean? We all work together for one common goal, provide opportunity for kids to be successful. Once again, fairly simple task.
Right.
I know it's not easy today with text and email, but when I was the athletic director, we had those phones that were so big nobody carried them. We had a pager, and guess what? I don't know if I could do it today. Chris Newton, to me, I mean, he's a rock star. The way he handles, you know, because quite honestly, a parent would come to me after a game and yell or something like that, I'd go off the handle.
Right.
You know, these guys, I can't imagine a mom being able to just text, you know, why isn't this,
Right.
you know, it's a lot different today. But
Too easy.
when we were all there, guys, and I tell this all the time, Anderson today, not that back when John Stowe and Chris Steffen and Bill Hare, the reason Anderson's the way it is, because that was a great foundation. And guess what? People like Vince Sirianni, Mike Hall, all they did was move it forward.
Right.
And what I mean by that, a good base, good people, we just had to energize them the right way. Yeah. And quite honestly, Rob Fellows and Chris Newton has done the same, in my opinion, again. Rob, they're doing great things. You know, people like you guys still coming back, being able to announce, this is what makes it successful. You know, that's why people want to be involved.
Right. Totally agree. That's great. That's a great comment.
Randy, how hard was it for you when you came back? Because I knew you were incredibly busy as the AD, but how hard was it coming back and not coaching?
You know, at the beginning it was hard, but I'll tell you what, it didn't take long. You can't see, you know, I remember the first, I think it was good that I came back in the winter. So, you know,
right.
Rich Newman stepped down in December. So when I took over in January, it was the middle of basketball season.
Right.
And I remember my two things in the first 2 days. First of all, Mike Hall did a reading in my wedding. Okay. My wife Laura grew up next to them in Woodland View, and her and their daughter Deb were very close. So we had a very good relationship. But that being said, I took the job on a Friday. On Monday, we go to Hughes High School for a girls' basketball game. If I told you the story, Dan, you start laughing.
No, I just because it was going to be good.
Well, Mike Hall lives in Mount Adams, right? Mike says that's what's great about those guys. Everybody had to divvy up who's going to cover what game. So Mike said, I'll go to Hughes High School and cover the game. So Joan Wollwender was my secretary, was amazing. Mm-hmm. We had office aides, and every day our job was to call and make sure officials were set, make sure the visiting school, everything was ready to go. When we were playing, make sure the bus, we called the bus depot, hey, bus is going to be here. Everything's set. And Mike Hall shows up at Hughes High School. The game's at 7:30, shows up at 7:10, and everybody's walking out of the gym. He calls me on the phone. What is going on? So what do you mean? They didn't have a JV team. Our varsity had to play at 6. So he missed the whole game. That was my first full day on the job.
Wow.
And we did everything we were supposed to. If you remember back then, unfortunately, the athletic directors at Cincinnati Public Schools taught 6 classes. They have one bell to be the AD.
Oh,
so that started my frustration. Now it's day 2 at Anderson High School, home boys basketball game. Halftime comes, the dance team comes running out onto the court, and their midriffs are showing new uniforms that I didn't buy, and they were halter tops and bottoms. Holy snacky. You would have thought, I was a second coming. Oh my God, Mike would have me in the hallway before. I'm like, no idea. I don't want to throw Rich under the bus. I don't know if he approved them. All I can tell you is you were not going to wear midriff dance uniforms with Mike Hall. Bottom line. It didn't matter if the routine was good. He was like, what are we doing? Are we doing a striptease?
That's 2 unbelievable days, man.
Oh. And I'm like, and my wife is still in Birmingham trying to close up shop. I'm sleeping. If you remember, the AD's office at the time had a shower. I slept on the training table at night, took a shower in the AD's office. I didn't leave, literally, for 2 months. That's where I lived.
Wow.
Welcome back.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Randy, you come back, and you talked about how you're going to be starting a family, and so, potentially the coaching thing moving forward. So talk about now, how proud you are of your kids, and they're grown. RJ's a senior, and you have a daughter that's teaching in the district. Talk a little bit about your family and how cool all that is.
Well, so when I came back to be athletic director, I was 29 years old. And within the first few years, Leslie was born that first year in May. So I became the AD in like February. She was born in May. And 2 years later, Lindsay was born. So, their days remembering, the golf carts and your parents, Steve, your parents, these little, they remember them growing up,
sure.
Having I remember Stacy Newman at the cheerleading state competition. Stacy was an athlete, and Leslie is sitting on her lap when they won that state championship, the cheerleading thing, and it kind of comes back full circle. My kids, if you would have told them they were going to go to school at McNick or Turpin, they would have lost their mind. Because that's all they knew.
Right.
Every night at bedtime, Laura would call me. I'd be at a soccer game, as you guys know, eating Sally's hot dogs, and you wonder why I gained weight. I blame her all the time. I ate the most unhealthy those 7 years of my life. But, just being able to, have them around and to drive them around on the golf cart and be at games. Look at all the role models, all those student athletes. We were so blessed, and they were all so good to him. And then, RJ comes along. Those two are now actually athletes at the middle school, and RJ's being able to watch it. RJ was a 5th grader when Lindsay graduated, which is really hard to believe.
Wow.
And now he's starting on the varsity football team. Fast forward, it's great times. It's a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys know, me and my wife downsized about 6 months ago. We literally live right across the street from the school.
Yeah.
I open my front door and I hear the announcers.
Yeah.
I can tell you if there's a soccer game, when the band's practicing, if there's a football game, let me tell you, it's so nice to be able to hear.
How nice would have that been when you were the AD just to walk across the street?
Oh my God. But I was always there. I mean, that's just the way you did it back then, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And we talked about my kids. I mean, Leslie and Lindsay and RJ, they all had great experience. Leslie was big time in the dance team, and they had a lot of success. Lindsay had a ton of success in fast pitch softball. RJ, this is his year, and hopefully things will, we'll have a good season. But behind all that, to be honest with you, we haven't talked about my wife. She's the rock star.
Absolutely.
You can't do all the things that we are able to do without her kind of keeping things at home because, we were never at home. When I was coaching or athletic director, we were gone all the time. So,
Hey, Randy, I want to bring this back full circle with this whole thing, how we all know each other thing. But your wife was the nurse when my son Tyler was born, and I will never, ever forget that because I distinctly remember because it kind of relieved me. That was my first child. And then here's your wife trying to like comfort me because she knows I'm freaking out, so it just shows the whole circle,
It's crazy. It really is bizarre. I mean, the other night I was showing my son your guys' picture from Florida, the four of you guys, because, he was trying to put faces to names and stuff like that. And I talked about your son. And Laura said, yeah, I helped deliver him.
Yeah.
So how old is he?
He's 30. 30 years old.
I mean, isn't that mind-blowing?
It's nuts, dude. It's nuts. I mean,
yeah. So that's nuts. And if you knew the number of people that she did deliver their babies from Jeff and Sandy Geesting, you just named. I mean, it's a large number that she's been part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So Randy, I want to talk a little bit about your business because you have a really cool niche. What you do for, I'm sure it's more than just schools, but that's really mainly I see it. Talk a little bit about Corbitt Graphics and what you do and what you're capable of doing to uplift and brighten places like Anderson. Well,
first of all, I think the couple things that happened to me that when I went to UAB, we were playing at Legion Field, and Legion Field was a really cool place. If you remember, that's where Alabama and Auburn played the Iron Bowl for years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great stadium, but unfortunately, it had been kind of let go. That it's kind of a tough part of town, downtown, and so what happened? One of the things that Jim Hillier asked me to do, he said, I was there all summer and I wasn't in class yet and football hadn't started yet. So that first summer, all I did was generate funds. I went out and raised funds for our training table and for our offices. So, so that's kind of the Corbitt Graphic thing started. I had to create and design the entire office complex out at Legion Field, turn it in for our full-time coaches. So we had 6 offices and we had to redo the locker room. I had to get donation of paints and frames and photos. And so that's kind of how that started. And it was kind of a lot of fun, It's like decorating your house, but it was all football related, So I did that summer. And then, the years coming back to Anderson and different athletic directors that I work with, I think it's so important to evaluate what you've got, evaluate your facilities and what's provided and what is needed for your kids to be successful. So I kind of got a good niche, and Mike used to carry note cards in his pocket with a pen. And if he walked by something and saw something that wasn't right, he'd write it down. Like water fountain's broken, hallway 103, glass door's broken, locker's not fixed. Well, he would do that in school. I try to do that in the athletic realm, fields, you walk by it and the practice goalposts on the football field's rusted, nothing personal, you're not, what I mean? So I would start doing that kind of stuff. So my big niche now is I was very blessed when we were at Anderson, right? We were successful in a lot of sports. We won the All-Sport trophy 7 out of 8 years, pretty fortunate. But the one thing I learned most is take care, on Friday night, we want things to look good. We want to be showtime. Everybody from the community is coming. That means I'm cutting grass. If I'm weed eating, if I'm blowing, you do whatever you got to do. Well, so what I provide to schools is that administrative feel. I know financially you can't afford a ton, but also you want it to look nice.
Yep.
So I was very blessed, and I've got several schools that I met with the treasurer and athletic director or principal, and we have 5 and 10 year plans. How do we move our place forward? And the guy at Goshen, Todd Schenkel, is probably one of the best customers. The way we looked at it, and he knew what my strengths were, and he wanted to utilize them. And so next thing you know, Corbitt Graphics kind of started from there. But I provide schools a pretty good look for less money because I know the different substrates and costs, and I've been over there, what kids might take care of versus adults versus colleges.
Right.
And I've been blessed. I mean, I think Claremont College, I'm so happy about that gym because I think it looks amazing for what, for that size school. It looks nice. And I'm blessed now. I do University of Cincinnati football. I do NKU. I do Thomas More, a lot of high schools.
That's great.
Small business. So it's a lot of fun.
That is awesome. You do have some good stuff. We're going to try to get ready to wrap this up. And the one thing that we always try to do is, we're going to do kind of a two kind of questions here, but you've pretty much summed up what it is like to grow up in Anderson. So I just want to get your feelings about how special, obviously Steve and I are still in this community, and you're here in this community. You came back. Talk a little bit of how special just really Anderson and the people of Anderson really is to you.
I think we're very blessed because we are, and I don't want to say bubble. I tell people all the time, I laugh. I grew up, as I tell people, in Lower Watch Hill. I grew up on the corner of Bernie and Salem. So it was first south of Watch Hill, as you can say, but that's where I grew up. And it was a great Cape Cod. And, but we've got all types and kinds, and it's a really good community. And I think we support each other. The police department, the fire department, the park district, the school district, just all really good organizations doing the right thing, trying to provide opportunity for kids. And the other thing people don't talk enough about, IHM and GA and McNick are great parochial schools. I mean, and they're right here in our community. So you've got great public schools, great parochial schools, all those extra things. So, why would you want to, why would you move out from a place like that?
I totally agree.
Got that right.
One of the other things we do here too, Randy, is, your favorite, give us some favorite moments as maybe as a player, a coach, an AD. I mean, you can even throw in as a parent, just get, if you got one of each, if you only have a couple for just what are some of your favorite memories? You start, as a player.
Well, probably it's probably not one of my favorite moments, but as a player, I'm gonna unfortunately my senior year, as I said, I hurt my knee, but I was able to play the last couple of years. It was fun, but probably my most memorable time as a player was actually on the baseball team. Lynn Moore was our coach my senior year. Mm-hmm. We were very blessed to have Jerry Wolf, who went on to Michigan. Unfortunately, Jerry hurt his arm, but he was amazing. Great curveball, and he could throw the heat. Second pitcher in line was Ty Burdick, who you both know. Ty had a lot of heat, didn't control the ball very well. And so guess who the third pitcher was? Me. Uh-huh. And I wasn't a starter. I was a relief pitcher. And quite honestly, I'm not sure. I could throw a strike, but I could throw a ball as equal. And my senior year, we were playing at Forest Park, and I think the kid's name was Craig Pruitt. I think it's Craig Pruitt. He played third base for Forest Park. And Lynn Moore was the coach, and we were winning 6-5, bottom of the seventh inning. I don't know how much you guys know about pitch count, but I'm at 141 pitches.
Oh my gosh.
And the person, and Lynn Moore said, I don't give a shit. He's going to pitch. I'm going to tell you, I had 12 walks, but I had 12 strikeouts.
Wow.
And he told me 3 different times he was going to take me out in the last inning. And We beat Forest Park when they had Greg Pruitt, who went on to play Division I in professional baseball. I struck him out 4 times in that game.
Wow.
Well, because of my jump, they're used to speed. He was choking up as far as he could. My fastball may have been 60 miles per hour.
Oh,
Somebody
that's
else's
funny.
changeup. So I threw sidearm, junk, all kinds of stuff. But we won that game 6-5. And I felt best for Coach Lynn Moore because he kind of stuck with me there in that game. And he was like, no, he's staying in.
Yeah.
He's got to deal with this. The only game I ever started and my only win, because that's the only game I started. Several times I'd come in and have saves and relieves. But anyways, that was probably my favorite memory as a player. As a coach, without a question of a doubt, the 1992 team beaten. The most exciting time was beating Princeton that game, and the most sad time is when we got the first down at St. X and they denied us the ball. That was probably the saddest time. And probably as a fan, the state championship and the state runner-up that year, those were very memorable times for me as well. Because at that point, I was out of the athletic director's business. I was just a community member.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most memorable.
That's awesome. Steve, I'm gonna see if you remember this, and I'm gonna give you a Randy Corbitt moment that I remember. And Randy, I could be wrong on this, so just if I am, tell me. I remember coming to watch a tournament baseball game at Anderson High School, and you were playing Moeller, and you ended up being the pitcher, and Hank Bull, I think is what his name was, and hit one on top of Anderson's roof. Tell me, is that right or wrong? Steve, you remember that?
No, that's what you're going to bring up.
That's what I was
First
going to
of
bring
all,
up. Yes.
you got a lot right of that story. But first of all, we weren't at Anderson High School. We were at West High.
Okay, my bad.
And West High is what an awesome field back then. And, so Ty Burdick started the game. I come into the game. We're losing 5-2. We're in the 4th inning, bases loaded. What I tell you is, a lot of good until the Hank Bulla home run. But so once again, Ty threw heat, but he was kind of getting, he was getting wild. I came in, true story, 9 pitches, struck out the side in straight 9 pitches. All a dumbass, I did them the same way. Seriously, threw a changeup, a curveball, and a sidearm pitch, and struck them all. It was one of those things like, holy shit.
Magic.
So we come off the field, everybody, they're all high-fiving, let's get a run back. So we scored a run. So I go back out on the field, 6 pitches, I got 2 more strikeouts, 5 strikeouts in a row, which I've never done. Learn Hank Bulla, the coach, his son, 24, playing first base. He comes up, 2 strikes on him. Now, if you were smart, you would not throw the sidearm pitch, right? Throw something else.
Yeah.
Catcher gives me the sidearm. I throw it. It gets up high. Guys, he hit the ball so far. Tony Diana was playing left field. Did not move. Just turned his head. Cleared the second fence onto Ferguson Road.
Oh, my God.
So, just to give you an analogy, it would have gone over Anderson Middle School onto Beachmont. That gives you the distance. Crushed it.
Yes, I do remember that or hearing about that, and so I had to throw that one in there because that was another Randy Corbitt moment.
It is what it is, right?
Yes,
That's right.
He went on and played football and the NFL and college. He was a big dude.
Yes, he was.
Crushed that ball.
Yes,
I had whiplash with my head spinning so quick on that.
Oh my gosh.
Nah, that's awesome. But Randy, I tell you what, we really appreciate, man. This is awesome. We could probably go on for another hour or so, but we really appreciate it. It was kind of a short notice, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. It's
always fun talking about the history and around Anderson High School and the township, and it's a lot of fun. And I appreciate all the. Your guys' families have been so integral part of what goes on here. I picture your dad, Steve, every day sitting at the end of the basketball court and on that bench. I remember the day I ordered the logo bench or the logo stools Remember the first Anderson Redskins, the black with the white. Your dad sat on it first in that end zone. He used to have that folding chair.
Yep.
Until I bought those stools for the, and I'll never forget. I mean, he must have thanked me every day for like a month. He loved it because he would lean up on that wall, sit on that stool, and lean up on the wall.
Oh yeah.
So,
great dude, man. Tell you.
Great times.
No, but just our families, we really appreciate it. I mean, and this was a lot of fun. We'll probably have to do this again and catch up again. So, but we're going to go ahead.
It's only fair. Your brother Mike, or not that Mike wasn't good, but your brother Tim was, integral part when I was the athletic director. He played 3 sports. He played football, basketball, baseball. And what a great leader, role model. What a great person. It was great to be part of, his career on both sides. Because we had some tough times. It was not always fun, but it was always good. So
well, you know what? I mean, you want to talk about families, Randy. I mean, think about your family and what you've done around here. And, like both your parents and your mom. I can remember your mom down at Jerry's, and just the legacy. I mean, if anybody who's been around Anderson for the last, 40 plus years is going to have a story about a Corbitt, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up because, Mom ran that restaurant for 14 years and Dad he ran the Sohio in front of it. So all my friends' cars he worked on growing up, know, and So we kind of owned that little corner back then.
That was awesome. Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was good. So we were going to have to wrap this up, Randy. I really appreciate it. Steve, we'll see what we try to get done next week. So we're going to wrap it up here. So Steve Ellis, Dan Albers, and Randy Corbitt, you're watching This Week in Anderson. We'll catch you next week.